All right. Well, welcome everyone. As of course, this is Sunday Assembly, the actual assembly. So click on the page. We are a secular congregation that celebrates life. We strive to live better, help often, and wonder more. So living better, we aim to provide inspiring, thought-provoking, and practical ideas that help people live their lives the way they want to and be the people they want to be. Help often. Assemblies are communities of action, building lives of purpose, encouraging us all to help anyone who needs it and to support each other. Wonder more, we're hearing talks, singing as one, listening to readings, and even playing games. All that helps us connect with each other and live in this awesome world we live in. And our vision is to help everyone live life as fully as possible. So we had to cut out the music for this time, but I think we can still do the Life Happens. Is maybe here, I think on the participants thing, people can do like a raise their hand kind of deal. So if you hit raise hand, welcome Jessica, and I assume Alex too. If you want to raise your hand, if you got something to share, then I will just kind of call on you and then let you do your little Life Happens for a bit. So if there's anyone wants to go ahead and do that, feel free. CJ, go ahead.
Okay, well, we thankfully had bought a bunch of flooring stuff before the pandemic hit, but this week we were able to finish finally installing everything in our flooring, and so now we have nice laminate hardwood floors, and I feel really great about that.
Nice. That's cool. Welcome, Kia. We're just doing the Life Happens. So a couple of you guys who joined a little bit later, if there's anything that you want to share with your Life Happens, go ahead. It looks like John's up next. Go ahead.
Okay. As many of you might remember, I had a house up in Midland because I got laid off up there and before I moved down here. So for a while I had two houses and was trying to desperately sell that house because I was paying two sets of property taxes and two mortgages and two electric bills and two of everything. Ooh. Anyway, we managed to close on that house in mid-February just before all this hit. And then now I end up furloughed with no work, no pay. And I am so glad that I'm not paying two mortgages to everything and trying to sell this house. And I've got the home equity from that house now to live on for a few weeks. And I'm thinking I'm just so lucky that it didn't go the other way.
Oh,
if that deal hadn't happened right just in time, oh man. So yeah, very happy, very grateful.
That is awesome. Okay, so welcome, Kia. Just to let you know, and Victor, we're doing a thing where we're doing the Life Happens. So if you have anything that you'd like to share with us, anything happy, sad, and Laurie, welcome, Laurie. So if you have something to share, just put your, do the raise hand function here on the Zoom, and I'll call on you and you can share, share your Life Happens.
Okay.
What raised hand?
Down, if you go to the participants, then you can, there's like a little function for raise hand. There's yes, no, go slower, go faster.
Oh, I
more.
see. Oh, down there. Okay.
Did you have something you wanted to share though? I guess if you're, are you talking?
Oh, well, I've been on quarantine for 20 days all by myself, which is really bizarre. I've just been keeping really busy doing a lot of projects, but I did pick some trash up alongside the road. So as I do a walk every day, and so I was picking up trash alongside the road, and then a bunch of people yelled at me on Facebook for doing it because they thought I was going to get the virus. But I had like gloves on and a scarf, so, but just trying to stay positive.
Cool. Anyone else have anything? Go ahead and raise your hand, or if you want. If you can't figure out the function of raising your hand, then you can just chat. All right. I think yeah, I don't know if I've got anything to share. Well, I guess for the longest time, my company wasn't actually doing anything. I know, John, you were talking about being furloughed. So I've been working a full work week up until just Friday. And then they came out and told us 4-day work week going on from now, I guess, until the end of the year. So I don't know. I guess I'm going to have 3-day weekends for the whole year. but also 20% reduction in pay. So, but is better than being furloughed for sure. So, all right, I'll get back to the slide. So Victoria was kind enough to find us a nice monthly reading for this assembly. So I'll put it up here on the screen. I'll read it out loud too, but if you are a faster reader or a better reader, then just you can just read it here on the screen to yourself. So if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster, and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools. What's that?
I think someone
Okay.
barfed.
All right, I'm gonna keep going. Or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they're gone, and so hold on to when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch. If neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And which more, you'll be a man, my son. And Victoria tells me that this man who wrote this actually wrote the Jungle Book as well, although he was apparently a colonizer in India. So you take the good with the bad, I suppose. All right, we'll jump back into the PowerPoint. Actually, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we're going to give it over to Anthony. He's going to talk with us about mutual funds, other market-related things.
All right, morning, everybody. Let's get it on. Okay, I'm going to mute everybody, and then afterwards for the Q&A, we'll unmute. All righty, so understanding mutual funds in today's market. And a lot of you may have seen some of the headlines popping up around about the damaging of the stock market, the economy, people losing 401ks and IRAs and retirements, there's things like that. And a lot of that is actually very inaccurate. Recently, the government said that you can withdraw up to $100,000 from your individual retirement account, and if you pay it back within 3 years, there's going to be 0 tax penalties, which sounds good, but it's actually very, very dangerous and damaging to your retirement account. And by the end of this presentation, you'll understand exactly why. So most people would believe that that your retirement account is like a savings account where you put money into and it just sits there and it gains some interest and you continue to put it into it and then you withdraw it. That's actually not what a savings account is. Savings account is exactly what it says. It's to save some money for something like buy a house, get married, a boat, go on vacation, small things like that. Your savings account really should not be for your retirement. So a retirement account is different because it's more like a garden where you start off with one plant, one seed, and you nourish it and you add to it and it grows actually very, very largely. It grows exponentially. And it does this with something what's called compound interest. Basic standard interest or simple interest is what you get from a bank. You put money in, it sits there, and it continues to earn interest on whatever you put in, but not the new interest that you've earned. Compound interest takes the interest that you earned last year and all the previous years, and it calculates it that way. And that's how it grows exponentially. So if you put $1,000 into an account, and that's the principal, with simple interest, $1,000 after 1 year at 10%, you earn $100 for a total of $1,100. Year 2, still you earn $100 and $1,200. You continue earning the $100, and it's pretty much a steady stream all the way up to the 20-year mark, where you're still earning only $100 a year for a total of $3,000. Now let's take a look at the exact same $1,000, but with compound interest. $1,000 in, first year you make the exact same amount, $100 for a total of $1,100. But the second year they calculate not on the original $1,000, they calculate your interest on the $1,100, which is sitting in the account. So now you have $1,210. And it's a very slow growth at first, where after 4 years, your 10% is only earned you $33 more than the simple interest. But after 20 years, with compound interest, you would have made $7,400. That's more than twice as much as with the simple interest. So compound interest is way better, and that's how it grows. So how does it accomplish that? It does it because your retirement accounts are actually on the stock market. Now, this is a scary thing for a lot of people. A lot of people have heard about it. You always hear the stocks are up, the stocks are down, worst day of trading, best trade of trading, biggest losses, yields, dividends, those things. People get a little nervous because they don't really understand it. And it's understandable. It is a scary subject that's very, very complex. So what exactly is a stock or a share? A stock, also known as a share or equity, is a type of security that signifies proportionate ownership in the issuing corporation. This entitles the stockholder to that portion of the corporation's assets and earnings. Okay, so what exactly does that mean? Let's say you have a business. You are the sole owner of the business. You have one share and you own 100% of it. Another type of business might be a partnership, where both of you own one share each for a 50-50 split. But there's lots of different combinations for different types of businesses. You might have a business where one person owns 2 shares for 50% of ownership, and then the other 2 people each own 1 share. It could be maybe one person started a business, then sold it off, or got investors, or maybe that was the original arrangement. There's lots and lots of different combinations. But by the time a company gets onto the stock exchange, whether it's NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange, Tokyo, any one of them, they're pretty diversified with a lot of owners. And every time somebody buys a stock or a share of the company, that percentage of the company that they own is represented based on all the shares. Some people own a lot of shares, some people own a few shares. Now, there's always a risk of a company going out of business, even if they're on the stock exchange. On January 8, 1991, Pan Am, which at one point was the biggest, most powerful airline in the world, filed for bankruptcy. I mean, can you imagine how pissed off you'd be if you bought stock in that company on January 7th? I know I'd be. So when you invest in one single company on the stock exchange, you risk losing everything if they go out of business. Now, we usually hear about big companies and how they're doing on the stock exchange, but the stock exchange is filled with thousands and thousands and thousands of companies, big and small. Now, sometimes people get some information maybe that that a company is about to go out of business, so they try to sell a bunch of stock off and try to, recoup any losses they might accrue in the coming future. And that's actually very, very illegal. It's called insider trading. Don't do it. Martha Stewart faced 20 years in prison for insider trading. She only did 9 months and is a convicted felon. So play it safe and play it right, play by the rules, because they will catch you. So what is a mutual fund? How is it different than just a regular stock? Well, a mutual fund actually, by definition, from investor.gov, a mutual fund is a company that pools money from many investors and invests the money in securities such as stocks, bonds, and short-term debt. The combined holdings of the mutual fund are known as its portfolio. Investors buy shares in mutual funds. Each share represents an investor's part ownership in the fund and the income it generates. Okay. Well, maybe there's a shorter definition that'll help us out. Dictionary.com simply says an investment program funded by shareholders that trades in diversified holdings and it's professionally managed. That's actually a very good definition. It's diversified because mutual funds actually bring in a whole bunch of companies together, a bunch of little stocks from this company, from that company, and they put them all together into one portfolio or one stock, and it is professionally managed by somebody who has a securities license from the Security Exchange Commission. So your portfolio might look something like this. You might have a lot of from company A and a little from company T and so forth. And the only way to lose all your money with mutual funds is if all these companies go out of business. So for all these companies to go out of business, that means the entire economy has completely been destroyed. America no longer exists, and we're back to living in the woods. You can depreciate the value of your stock, of your mutual funds, if all the companies go down. Like right now, the market is down. Now, this is called the mutual fund V. It's going to help you understand exactly how investing in your retirement account works and why it's so beneficial. Let's say, just to use round numbers, we're going to invest $100 a month, because they always say you should put a little away every single month into your retirement account. So if we're using round numbers and simple math, we're going to invest $100 a month. By the way, this is how much I've been investing in my IRA account since I was 14 years old when I got my first job. So the first month, you put in $100, and by the way, to make things a little bit simpler, for the sake of this example, instead of calling the stock market, we're going to call it a farm. And instead of shares or stocks, we're going to call them cows. So for this example, you're going to be buying $100 worth of cows every single month. So the first month, each cow is worth $100, and you get to buy one cow. The second month, the price goes down to $50, and you're still buying $100 worth of cows, so now you can afford to buy 2 cows. Third month, the price goes down even more, and this is usually around the time when your friends and family start telling you, see, I told you not to invest, it was a silly idea, but you made a commitment, you're going to stick to it, and you get to buy 4 cows. Now, this is usually when people really begin to panic. 4 months later, you are now at 1/10 the price of where you were earlier, 4 months earlier. People a lot of times begin to sell off, and they start saying, well, I'll just cut my losses and get whatever I can. But you still made a commitment, and you're still getting $100 worth of cows, and that's at $10 a pop, 10 cows. So, really quickly, true or false? When stocks go up, you make money. That's true, because now you have something valuable. You buy a car, you actually lose money because cars depreciate in value over time, unless it becomes a classic, in which case you have to hold on to it for a very, very long time and do a lot of maintenance to it. So when stocks go up, you do make money. Now, when stocks go down, you lose money. That's actually false. You only lose money if you sell the stocks when they're low. The old saying isn't buy high, sell low, it's buy low, sell high. So if you were to sell off your cows at $10 a pop, you're going to lose money. Keep those shares. They're valuable. They will come back. If you look at the history of the stock market, it always goes up and down short term, but in the long run, it is always increasing. The economy is always growing, and America has plenty of room to keep growing its economy. Even when you look at a shorter range of a 2-year period, it still goes up and down all the time. So you can't sell every single time it goes down. You'll end up losing it right away. Mutual funds are a long-term investment. They're not short-term. They're not a get-rich-quick scheme. So back to the mutual fund V. Eventually, the stock goes back up to $25 a cow, and you get 4 cows, to 50, and then we're back to $100 a cow 7 months later. So let's do the math. After 7 months of investing $100 a month, you own 24 cows. That's valued at $2,400. $700 that you initially invested into it, you have a profit of $1,700. Now, had you sold when it was at $10 a cow, you would have only had 17 cows valued at $170 minus the $400 you spent. You would have actually lost $230. That's why you don't sell when things are in times of crisis. Always hold on to your shares for as long as possible. So when they tell you that you can borrow your money, you can take out your money without penalties, you're actually going to be paying. Because in the end result, if you withdraw $100,000, and let's say it's $50 a share today, that means you would have sold off 2,000 shares from your retirement account. 3 years later, if you put it back, obviously the economy is going to be a lot better, or at least we're all hoping it's going to be better, and the price is $100 a share, that means you only get to buy 1,000 shares. You lose shares that are valuable. You lost 1,000 shares, and it would take you another $100,000 just to regain them. So there is really penalties to these. Thank you. And I'll open up if there's any questions as soon as I get to it. All right, everybody's unmuted.
I think John has his hand raised.
Oh, yep. Go ahead, John.
Okay. Yeah, I heard Trump recently say we didn't have to worry about this coronavirus recession because it's going to be a V-shaped recession. And I thought, hold on a second. By definition, every recession is a V-shaped recession. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So in basic economics, what they say is when there's a recession is necessary because it corrects the market. Okay, it resets itself. It's just kind of like a teetering effect or like a pendulum. You know, it swings one way, then it swings the other way. So what ends up happening that they say is what's called the invisible hand, where when the economy is low, when there's a recession, this invisible hand swoops in and brings us back up because there's still investors. So like right now, we have a very different type of recession than we did back in 2009, because 2009 was actually a financial crisis where people lost their investments and it was a bubble burst. Whereas right now, this is more of a slowing of an economy. One of the reasons why the stock market is actually kind of stable right now and showing increases is because people have money and they still have money to invest into it. And that's what's going into that market. So yeah, it's a V-shape. They're always V-shaped because that chart goes up and down, up and down, up and down. But in the long run, it goes this way. Anyone else? Anyone? Viewer?
So would it be smart to like invest in the companies that are making vaccines right now?
That's risky because only which ones actually succeed. The best thing to do is look, if you go to any stock, like if you Google, you know, Ford stock, Google will show you, and then you can actually, it'll click a button on there, it'll show you can look at what it's done for the day, the month, 6 months, a year, 5 years, something like that. So you can actually see where they were a month ago. And that company is going to rebound back. So if, for example, I noticed when this all started, Norwegian Cruise Lines, they had a stock go from, I want to say somewhere around $100 down to about 40. So that means if you buy at 40 now, and in a year or two, that stock will return to where it was, which is what the company is going to try to do. That's a huge profit. That you're more than doubling your money.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I think I was a little confused myself because I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't be contributing as much now or something like that. But it sounds like I should just continue contributing whatever I'm contributing, and then it'll kind of come back up later.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're buying stocks when they're down at the bottom of the V at the $10 mark. I mean, even if it goes down to like $8 or $7, you're still buying it at a very rock bottom price.
John, did you still have something to say, or okay? No.
Yes, I did. I only put my hand back up because I had a comment, and I can do that. I'm perfectly happy with anyone else going before me because I already went. My comment was going to be with regards to buying vaccine stocks now. I wanted to point out that everyone is trying to make money on the stock. Not everyone. A lot of people, millions of people are trying to make money in the stock market. And because they're all watching that, as soon as there's any kind of news, the stocks respond within minutes. So unless you're responding to something faster than everybody else, which you can't do, it's very difficult to say, oh, now is a good time to buy vaccine stocks. That's already factored in. The stocks have already gone up in price and you're buying them high. So it's not a horrible thing to do, but it's not like you're going to, time the market better than people who do this professionally and have buzzers set up on their news so that they can respond within 30 seconds.
Yeah, that really falls into the whole insider trading part. If you buy stock because you found out that Johnson & Johnson just got the coronavirus vaccine the day before, that's when you go to prison.
Anthony,
Yes.
let's say that you are short on liquid cash. You don't have a lot of savings. I don't see the 100K withdrawal and paying it back from your IRA and paying it back in 3 years as something as bad as incurring credit card debt or something like that.
That's true. It when you accrue credit card debt, that falls into the category of a liability. Whereas when you lose shares of your retirement account, you're actually diminishing your assets. So it's
Okay.
it's a completely different thing. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Unless you can think of another option of trying to, increase some liquid cash.
Well, yeah, I'm saying that a lot of people look at that as, it's simple and there's no consequences to it. Where,
Right.
yes, I understand. I remember, I knew somebody who in the early 2000s, they lost their job and they actually didn't have a job for about 2.5 years. And they
Okay.
had no choice but to liquidate their IRA.
Okay.
Because you only had, I think, was it like 99 months of unemployment at the time. And I mean, and the unemployment only gives you, I believe it's 60% of your paycheck.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I hadn't considered that they were doing that for you to get more liquid cash out of it if you're really hurting at the time. Maybe that was the intention, but I do think that, yeah, probably someone who reads that thinking, oh, well, yeah, maybe I should pull out now and then put it back in later, that would be wiser. I don't know. Welcome, Tina. I see you jumped in here. We just got done with the presentation, so I'd have some questions, but just wanted to say hi. I see you jumped in. Does anyone else have any more questions for Anthony?
Not necessarily a question, just a comment. I had to get my Series 7 license, so I did have to learn all this, but you explained it much better than every textbook I had to read, so thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure, and thank you for the compliment.
Cool. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, then Anthony, if you wanted to stop sharing, I can share my screen again.
Oh. Am I still sharing?
Yeah, it's like trying to minimize. It's stuck.
Okay.
Is this being recorded?
Yeah, so we'll be able to put this online too for people who weren't able to make it this morning.
Austin, maybe you can just take over. Maybe you can just grab it.
I tried to hit the share screen button on mine, but it says you cannot share the screen while other participants are sharing. Let's see what I was going to say anyway. I think it was just announcements. Oh yeah, upcoming events. So I can kind of walk through those while you guys are going through that. So of course, things are a little more wonky. We can't have our normal physical events, but we've been trying to find some stuff to fill the void online. So if you weren't there already, earlier this month, we had a Netflix watch party, and we had a game night, and I think that both of those were a huge success. They were a lot of fun, just tremendous. No, okay. No, they're pretty fun though. We played Dominion at the game night, which was new, and I really liked it actually. I think I'm gonna try to practice a bit maybe for next game night. So anyways, the point of the story is that we're gonna try to do those again, I believe, for May. It sounds like probably it's not the smartest idea to try to meet in May for anything, so we'll probably repeat those events. We watched Vox's Explained on Netflix, but I'm looking into this other kind of watch party app called 27. It sounds like everyone has to make their own account for you to be able to share the thing. Oh, I see you got it. Okay, I can share my screen now. So basically, it's this like 27 thing over here, and you can do like Amazon, Netflix, I don't know, all of them, Hulu, YouTube, stuff like that. So it'll open up the range a little bit. So if we wanted to do like our Wine with Ted kind of a thing where we watch TED Talks, we can do that. Or if we want to all just like watch a movie together or something like that instead of the Voxes Explained, then we can do that. Although I think the Voxes Explained was pretty interesting because they talked about the stock market. One of the ones we watched, and then cryptocurrency. So we tried to theme it with Anthony's talk. So we've got that coming up next time. The game night again, we're going to try to do. We started a Discord, but actually we just ended up using Zoom. That seemed to work out for. We only had like 8 or 9 people, so. That wasn't such a bad number for Zoom, but to Jessica's point, if we get more people, if we get like 20 people or something like that, we'll probably try to move over to the Discord, just because that'll be easier when we separate out the game. Most games are only like 6 to 8 player max, so it'll be nice to kind of separate out for the different games. But coming up, this coming Saturday at 3 p.m., Victoria is going to be talking about what you can get out of your library. I know that she's been working very hard to find a bunch of different resources and stuff like that during this quarantine for people to enjoy around here. So like the Auburn Hills and Brandon Township Library. But I know that a lot of other libraries are doing a lot of good work too. So I'm sure even up in Traverse City, they're doing some good stuff. But she'll talk about this. I know she wanted to talk a little bit about like protest libraries and things like that, like at the the 99% march or whatever it was back in 2009 or something like that they did. I can't remember what it was called. They had like a whole library. Everyone had brought books and made like a library, and that was like the protest thing. Then they got pushed off the lot by the governor at the time, I think. Anyway, so that'll be good. We're going to try to do these more often even after the quarantine's done, because actually it was Steve that had the idea to do this, and I don't think he's here today, but of course we're all nerds. We all know something that we can share with each other. So just the idea is that we can get together and learn a little skill, and I think that'd be kind of cool. So it's slightly different than the assembly where you have kind of like a speaker and you're getting kind of told. This one is more kind of like a workshop issue or something like, so like if you know something about Excel or Like Victoria knows about libraries. I know CJ's really into possums, so she'll do something about possums at some point. So just some fun kind of lighthearted, more equal just conversation about what we all know. And then, of course, if you haven't joined in, feel free to jump into the book club. If you, I hesitate to go to Facebook with everyone here, but if you go to the Sunday Assembly Facebook page and you go down to groups over on the left, we've got 3 different groups, and one of them is a book club. So if you want, you can jump into the book club. This month we're reading The Last Question by Isaac Asimov. So it's a pretty short read. It's only, I think, maybe 5 or 6 pages, something like that. And it's pretty interesting. So feel free to jump on here. You can see, I think, some of this stuff. People are putting in ideas what they wanted to do, but it's free, hosted by Princeton. So you can read through, okay, 9 pages. So just, read through that. And Patrick has generated some discussion questions. So when we come to the last Saturday of the month, April 25th, we're going to jump on in the morning at 11, just like this, and have a chat about that reading. So Patrick has also put on some kind of interesting YouTube videos that you can watch as well, to kind of get your blood flowing about some of the concepts discussed in the last question. So feel free to jump on there. And then, of course, he also put the link to the free text. So I think that's going to be a blast. I've personally never done a book club, so this is going to be kind of new for me, but I'm getting a lot of help from leadership like Patrick and others to know what to do. So I think that'll be pretty fun. I've actually read it a while back ago. I didn't think I had, but I did. So I really enjoyed it. It was a good read. We're going to have to update the May things here, but for the assembly next time, it sounds like we're going to have someone from All About Pets. I think it's a local nonprofit. They're probably one of the cheapest spay neuter release organizations in the state. So they go around and they find people or they find dogs and things like that, and they bring them in. They do the spay neuter, and then they release them back out so that they can reduce the wild population. They have one particular program that I think was really interesting. Like, I struggle to remember the name of it, but basically the idea was to talk about how owning animals and being poor, like you shouldn't be restricted from owning an animal if you're poor. So that's kind of like a social justice issue. So they go around and they try to help poor people understand best ways to raise their dogs and things like that, and their cats. They were doing a lot of, I guess in Detroit, they were doing a lot of taking animals away from poor people at points because they just weren't caring for the dogs right. And they found that they would take the dog away, for example, and then it would go into a shelter. And then, of course, the shelters, not all well, maybe that's changed recently, but at the time, not all shelters in Michigan were no kill. So it would end up that they would take this dog away from a poor person, and then the dog would end up in a shelter and get euthanized. And for absolutely no good reason, when they could have just gone back and worked with the poor people to change the environment or something like that, so that it was better for the animal. They could educate them on how to train the dogs and things like that. They were taking them away because they were tearing up fences or something, and it's that's just a behavioral thing that you can work with the dog. So that's a really cool program I think that they're working with, and I am pretty interested in what they're going to talk about for that one. So we'll do that here too. I told them to do a recording, so we may not have as much live interaction with them as we did with Anthony, but we can still do kind of a live assembly, and then we'll just watch the show. I might talk with them. Go ahead, Victor.
Yeah, really the only major expense, especially if you're unemployed or not as fortunate, is the vet bill. Mm-hmm. The vet bills are tremendously high. I've owned a dog, raised them here. All the vets you go to, they're very, very high priced. So unless, that's basically where a person who's not as financially solid and sound really, really cannot afford the vet bill. And
right. And I don't know if they had some kind of programs to help them pay for that, or
having a companion, that's great and everything, When it comes to the vet bill, that's something they cannot afford. Extremely
Right,
high.
and that's something that they need, that they're probably going to talk about, like what do they do in those situations. They may have some kind of fund or something like that, so I'll be curious to see what they say coming up, but that should be the next assembly. So that's pretty much the events. Look out for the changes here. We'll put them onto the Facebook events as well, what's coming up for May, but I think we're also going to try to find a way to volunteer. I know that there were some ways that people were either like making masks and gowns and things like that for the hospital. I thought that might be interesting. Or I know that there's some programs potentially to call seniors and things like that that are isolated and not able to be as social as they wanted to be. So we'll try to keep you abreast of those situations as we develop them. But we have to have another Help Often committee. So that's the upcoming events. Of course, I should tell you different ways to donate. So I want to say thank you to everyone who is already a paying membership or having a paying membership through PayPal right now. If you don't know how to do that, I never actually get the chance to show you guys how to do this. But it is, the button's right in the wrong spot. You come to Sunday Assembly Detroit.org, and then when it loads, you jump over to the donate button here. It goes, and it should bring you to a PayPal page. Of course, you can give a one-time donation, but if you say make this a monthly donation, then it will pull out of your account regularly every month. We'll send you a different email as well, like the monthly emails, just saying, you know, hey, thank you for being a member. And then we were developing some ways that we could kind of benefit you, but all of that stuff was dependent on actually being able to get out and go do things like go to, you know, comedy clubs and gather. So, you know, as the quarantines kind of put a hamper on that, we're trying to look for new ways to kind of see a benefit. But of course, as I've talked about in the past, donating to Sunday Assembly also helps us in different ways. I mean, things like Meetup, things like these Zoom meetings now, various expenses have to be pulled even when we're not doing an assembly and paying for the space. So it would be really helpful if you guys jump on there and give your donation. And I want to say thank you to all those who are already doing that monthly. So it's severely helpful and greatly appreciated. So I wanted to thank you there. But of course, you can go on to Amazon.com. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I can show you all the different ways to do this. So, son of a gun. All right, I'm just going to pull it up before I do the share again. So you can go to smile.amazon.com. I'll do the share again. So if you come to smile.amazon.com, you can come here, and there's a little spot where you can say what organization you want to support while you're donating. So if you buy stuff while you're on smile.amazon.com, it will support, they'll give whatever, it's like fractions of a penny on the dollar, so it's not much, but in the end, it does help us out when all of our members are supporting us on Amazon Prime or Amazon, and they're buying stuff. So that's a pretty cool way. It's pretty easy. You basically don't even have to think about it if you're buying stuff from Amazon. I'm trying not to buy stuff from Amazon this year, but it's not easy, of course. So that's pretty much it. Thank you for coming. I know that we usually have some food afterward, but I don't know. Maybe we can just all go get our lunches or something and stay online. But it's up to you guys. We can keep chatting or not, or we can call it an end. But yeah, I appreciate you all coming, and definitely thank you, Anthony, for putting this all together. I know we kind of scrambled to figure out what to do now that the quarantine was on, but I think we're making it work. So
It was my pleasure, and great turnout, and hopefully we'll see everybody with the next session and then live as well.
yeah, we'll see. Hopefully we can get it live as well next time too. So at this point, I've seen other churches we just like open up all the mics and everyone can kind of chat for a while. But if you're done and you want to go do some other stuff, feel free. We're actually a bit ahead of time. So We called it an hour for it, but actually we've got another 15 minutes before the hour ends.
I can also say thanks, Anthony, for helping set this up. It's good that that it worked. It's really cool to see. This is the first time. We might want to sometimes do things this way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'd be great to do this in the future too, when we're actually still having physical ones that just have like, I don't know, like a Zoom meeting or something for people to be able to watch it. It'd be kind of nice.
No, we got the technology for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I thought, another advantage is that this makes it, we've hemmed and hawed quite a bit about location to make sure that it's accessible for everyone, and this makes it accessible for everybody to, have one of these sprinkled in with all the other ones.
That's true. That's true. We could do that, especially if we want to save a little money on space or something like that. Cool. Anyone else want to chat about anything, or should we call it a day?
All right.
All right, we're calling it a day. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.